There you go, that's a nice way to start a video, having a bee or a wasp land on my nose. So, welcome, hi there. Today I'm going to give a little teaching about from the experiences of meeting Ajahn Sumedho and his talk and his own meeting with Bede Griffiths. I first heard about Bede Griffiths, it was about 2001, and I was interested in him because he attended the same school as myself, obviously many years earlier. Bede Griffiths was a Benedictine monk who ended up going to India and setting up an ashram there while still being a Benedictine monk. And so basically he was by faith. And I first came across him, and I was reading an article in a magazine that my grandfather passed me and said, "Oh, this chap went to the same school as you." Now, you can read in my book the stories of the synchronicities of how I first read his autobiography and read about his experiences at school, and it was my own awakening within myself that until that point, 2001, I hadn't questioned my boarding school experience. And when I read his book, it was like, oh, actually maybe boarding school wasn't as good for me as I thought. And I started to do a lot of process work, and in fact, at the time I really hated boarding school. And now I see it in a different light. I see it as a great teacher, mainly because it gives you so many challenges and really kind of messes you up internally on one level that you have to learn, you have to grow, you have to become more. So I think boarding school on one level is an amazing thing, but not as other people see it. I guess coming back to duality. When you're in duality, then it's good and bad, but coming more into unity consciousness, you see that things just are. So boarding school, it just is. So I had come across Ajahn Sumedho. I was living in the monasteries that he set up, the Thai forest tradition, and I was visiting one of the smaller monasteries, and I'd been there a few weeks, and one of the guests was Ajahn Sumedho. So we had afternoon tea together. There was probably 3 or 4 monks and Ajahn Sumedho, and we were just chatting, and it was lovely. 3 or 4 hours just chatting about different things. Now, one of the subjects which came up was Bede Griffiths, because I knew that Ajahn Sumedho had met Bede Griffiths, and I just wanted to know a little bit more because of my experience of reading Bede Griffiths' autobiography and my school. So Ajahn Sumedho went over to visit Bede Griffiths in America. I presume Ajahn Sumedho was already in America visiting family, and while he was there, Bede Griffiths was also at that time in America. He had been living in India for many years, Bede Griffiths, and he was in America, I believe, because of health reasons. And as Ajahn Sumedho tells the story, he says that when he went to visit Bede Griffiths, he just had a stroke. Bede Griffiths had just had a stroke. And basically, Ajahn Sumedho went to see how he was. Now, interestingly, the story goes that when he saw Bede Griffiths was like saying, "Oh, it's absolutely wonderful, absolutely great, I can't remember a thing." And what he was saying is, you could see a stroke in a bad light, but in his perspective, he couldn't remember anything. And he's saying, "I don't have to worry about anything, I can't remember anything." And I thought that's a really lovely teaching. One's taking something which most of us in the West see as a bad thing, a stroke, and turning it into a positive thing, seeing it as oh yeah, actually you can see it in a positive light, and that is what Bede Griffiths was seeing. Now, although Ajahn Sumedho didn't teach it like this, I've since used that as a practice, and it's one of the practices I teach in my book, The Well-Being Way, that you can use this principle about not remembering anything as a meditation practice. Now, how I use it is, at any moment, it can be this moment, you just imagine that you don't remember anything. You can, if you wish, imagine that you've had a stroke, and suddenly you have no long-term memories, you have no anxieties about what you did in the past, and therefore you're not really going into the future because you're not planning. You have to therefore be very much in the moment. And I think that's essentially the teachings of many spiritual teachers and practices like Buddhism or meditation, about being present. And I was just practicing it this morning, just coming back to the moment, just seeing the movement in the trees, hearing the bird call, hearing the sounds around me, and just thinking, I don't remember anything, I can't remember a thing. And I personally find such peace in that moment of, I can't remember anything. I personally can be quite heady. I think this is a thing that a lot of us in the West, in Europe, America, have, is that we're very much heady based, that we think a lot. And I have this, and I've had this. I think it's a gift on one level. We can use it as a gift, but I also have to use a lot of teachings and tools to get myself to drop my mind. And this practice, the Bede Griffiths, I can't remember a thing practice, meditation, is really powerful. So now, in this moment, you have to just look around you. Everything that you see, the sky, the trees, the computer screen in front of you, your chair, your desk, the people around you. Whatever you see, this is the moment. Nothing else exists for you. And that's what spiritual practice is really all about. That's what enlightenment is about, is suddenly coming into this moment, seeing the wonder, the splendour of now. And now. This is what the teachings of Eckhart Tolle, the power of now, coming back into this moment. So breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out again. Breathing in and breathing out again. So breathing, just remembering to breathe, that helps you to come back to the moment. Because when we drop the past, the future, it's amazing. It truly is. When we stop the monkey mind, we stop it. Okay, we don't stop the monkey mind. We just use the practices to let it go through our meditation. And when we do that, it's like, wow, life is really good. This moment is amazing. The sun on my face there, my feet on the air, sitting here in this beautiful garden. So blessings on you. May you be well. May you be well.